Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to another episode of the Hog Talk Podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios, part of the Believe and Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us each week on 106.7 Buzz 2 in Central Arkansas. All live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark. I'm Porter Hayes. Alongside me, as always, is Adam Hall. And on tonight's show, it is March Madness. March Madness is here. Arkansas will take on Hawaii at 3:25 Central Time on March 19th on Thursday. The winner of that will get the winner of Wisconsin High Point. So we're going to talk all March Madness, break down our brackets. How far can Darius Acuff take this team? That is going to be the biggest question mark when we get into Thursday's game, and who's going to step up for Arkansas. Who is the most important person that needs to step up to give Darius Acuff any help? But Adam, I don't know exactly how much y'all talked about them going to Portland, taking on Hawaii on last night's episode of Hog HQ Live, where you can hear them every Sunday, 6:05. But were you surprised, one, of the 4 seed, and what were your thoughts on them getting to Portland?
Not necessarily surprised by the 4 seed. I honestly could have seen either way of them not coming up from the 5 seed, but we had talked about one way that Arkansas could have moved up to the 4 seed was winning the SEC championship. We just thought that was going to be against Florida. So it was against Vanderbilt, but they still bumped us up. And I think they kind of had to, because we started seeing more of the bracketology come out, and, they had Vanderbilt at the 4 seed. So I think it was one of those, hey, we can't have Vanderbilt at the 4 seed when they just lost to Arkansas. Mm-hmm. I am surprised that we're going all the way out to Portland, because a lot of what we had been seeing was in Philadelphia or, the eastern side of the United States. So I was a little surprised by that. I know a lot of folks talking about like, oh, Hawaii's got a longer flight than Arkansas does to get to Portland. So, it's one of those things. I have Arkansas going to the Final Four in my bracket after I sat down and looked at it today. Might I be wrong? Who knows? Do I really care? Not really. About if there's a problem with that. But hey, we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm ready for it. I like Arkansas's path. So we'll see how it pans out, but Hawaii will be an interesting game for Arkansas.
Yeah, I am going the other way. I love it. Now, look, it's a trade-off. It is you're trading off the fact that you got to go to Portland. Adam, that's the only bad thing I see. You look at the other side of the bracket right there. When you look at Duke. You got Duke, Kansas, Michigan State, and UConn all on in the East. You go down to the South, you got Florida to deal with. You've got North Carolina, Illinois, and Houston to deal with. Now, the Midwest, if you want to go 4 seed, Alabama got a big break there. Now, we'll talk about Alabama's situation here in a minute, but I mean, that one right there, you got Kentucky to deal with, Iowa State, and then Michigan, which Michigan And Arizona, Duke, all your number 1 seeds. And if you want to go 2 seeds, UConn, and then Florida. But other than that, I really like Arkansas's draw. And if they got to go to Portland to get this kind of draw, it's the most favorable if you give them a 4 seed. Because really, like they were talking about on Ruskin and Zach, Arizona is the only really team that if you want to look at, if they're playing their best, Arizona is the only team that you could see that is better than Arkansas in this bracket.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, BYU, I mean, that might be that really tough game, but overall, I think Arkansas is better than BYU. And the fact that you wouldn't have to see them till the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four, I mean, that's where you look at all the teams. I mean, Miami, Missouri, Purdue. We know how Purdue always gets ranked 2 or 3 or 4, and then they bow out. Like they could get beat by Missouri or Miami. Gonzaga, 3 seed. They're probably going to lose to BYU. So when you look at the path, yes, you got to go to Portland, but I love it. If you want to say the only trade-off, maybe if they would have been in place of Alabama. But you're looking at a second-round matchup against Texas Tech. And then if you get past that, then you got to play Michigan. So it is tough. And I know a lot of people want Arkansas to go to Oklahoma City or St. Louis. And yes, they got to go to Portland, but you got to look at the big picture here. And I know that for Razorback fans, they want to be able to travel. They're going to travel. It don't matter if they were playing this game on the North Pole. Razorback fans would show up. They would find a way to make this happen. Arkansas has one of the best fan bases. You would go overall fan base in all the big 3 sports, and you could even go track, anything. They have one of the best traveling fan bases in all of college sports. So the travel is not a big deal to me. Now, once you get later, the Elite Eight, Final Four, and you keep on having to keep on going and traveling, then it might add up, but you're still going to have people there. So you look at it, Arkansas plays Hawaii, which I'm hearing, yes, they got a bunch of tall guys, big guys, but they can't. I think they're ranked in the 300s in their defense. Who's going to stop Darius Acuff right now? Who's going to stop Brazil? Malik Thomas. That's where you got to go. And then you got to play Wisconsin second round. They're like another Purdue. I mean, they might have a big inside presence, but I really like Arkansas in that matchup. The only team that scares me outside of Arizona is BYU, but I still like Arkansas's chances to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, my Final Four actually is Michigan State versus Houston and Arkansas versus Michigan. And then I have Michigan and Houston in the championship. But no, I mean, Hawaii defends the 3 well. They don't play good help side defense. I mean, you talk about where they're ranked at defensively. I think that Darius Acuff will have himself a game, but I also think he's going to continue what he did in the SEC tournament, and I think he's going to have himself a hell of an NCAA tournament. I think we saw, in game 2 or Arkansas's game 2 against Ole Miss, his bad game, and he still had 24 points. Yeah. But you had Malik Thomas step up, and I think that this is going to be a NCAA tournament that Darius Acuff is going to have himself a good time, and I think you're going to have Malik Thomas stepping up in whatever capacity, whatever role he needs to, whether it's points, rebounds, assists. I think Billy Richmond's going to, come out and show why he was all SEC defense. I think Trevin Brazil is going to continue what he's been doing. And it was one thing that, watching the game, you look at the stat line and you're like, oh, here Nick Pringle went, no points once again. But at the same time, in that game, he stepped up in other ways. I don't think he had 6 boards, either 2 steals and a block or 2 blocks and a steal. I don't remember what it was. But he stepped up defensively. Yeah, he got beat a few times. But he stepped up in other ways. So I think that if some of these guys, like we have talked about in the past and with past Arkansas rosters, and we'll get into a past Arkansas roster here in a little bit when we break down something that came out earlier. But if some of these guys can accept their roles, this team is borderline unstoppable. Because that's one thing that we've talked about before with this team and other teams is guys accepting roles. So I feel like if you can get Nick Pringle in there and be a defensive presence, that's going to go a long way because Arkansas has been missing. It's crazy that Billy Richmond, made all SEC defense when we've had so many defensive struggles throughout this season. So I think we're going to see some of these guys step into roles because that's what's needed to win. And I'm going to give, flowers to DJ Wagner for stepping up when it was his time. And this is what we have been needing from him over these past few weeks. We've started to see it more and more, and it's perfect timing because here we are at March Madness.
Yeah. And that's what we've said, a few weeks ago, him to step up. Somebody needs to step up. If he keeps and the you talk about Brazil and his defensive effort, the thing that you're talking about, backside help. How many alley-oops does Arkansas try to throw? How many times does Acuff go to the basket and all of a sudden he's throwing it up and Brazil or Pringle or Ewan jamming it home? I mean, that's where Arkansas is going, and especially now with March Madness, and you get the crowd into it, you get that momentum going. It's showtime, and I really think, Darius Acuff has shown over and over and over again he's locked in, he's ready to go. He wants to lead this team to a national championship. He hasn't proven anything else, and that's going to be the biggest factor. Is there's a lot of people that are starting to really jump on the Darius Acuff train and Arkansas train because of their performance in the SEC tournament. Yes, they got a lucky draw and didn't have to play Alabama or Kentucky or Florida in the finals, but who cares? That's what this is all about. And we had talked about that last week. If they would have had to play these teams, look, if you win, you win, you lose, lose. We're not hanging a banner for this SEC championship. We're not. You're going to be recognized as the SEC tournament champions. But after yesterday, that means nothing. And I guarantee you ask anybody in that staff, any of the players, apart from yesterday, it does not matter anymore that you won the SEC tournament, other than bragging rights for 24 hours, and now let's turn it on, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, Coach Cal, look, we know how Coach Cal is. And him talking about going to Portland and this, look, he is pandering. You think he gives a crap if they got to go to Portland? Look, on you're flying charter or whatever, or private jet. You fly out there whenever you want. You have as much time to get ready for this game. Like he knows he is wanting anything to get these guys ready. And it's just like when Joe Lunardi put that bracketology out, still putting Vanderbilt over Arkansas when they won, had a better conference record, and beat them head to head. You still had them over. And I told you that's going to be bulletin board material. Here we are again. You give them a 4 seed, but you stick them out in Portland when you have probably one of the best players in the nation, and you're going to put him at Portland. Mm-hmm. So they need any kind of motivation to keep going right now because they're on a heater, and they've got to keep it going because now it's win or go home.
And someone asked you about Wisconsin. So Wisconsin would be an interesting game. I think they've got 2 players. They've got one, Nick Boyd, that averages almost 21 points a game. John Blackwell averages 19 points a game. I mean, so they've got 2 guys right there at 20 points per game.
And then you have Nolan Winter, 13 and 8.
Yeah. So they shoot the ball well. I believe they were 3rd in the Big Ten in points per game and most 3-pointers per game at almost 12 per. So they're a 3-point shooting team, and we know that how that's been an issue for Arkansas defensively. I mean, they knocked off Michigan earlier in the year before losing to Michigan in the Big Ten tournament or Big Ten championship. So that'll be a game that I think will come down to who can get to 90.
Yeah.
Or even higher than that. Who's going to outscore the other. So if we get that, that'll be a game to watch if both teams, advance and get there, which they should.
Yeah, Nolan Winter is 7-footer. So, I mean, that could be potentially a problem too. But again, it's one of those. You got to look at it. Point, let their guys get theirs. If he's going to have, he stepped up. It's where Arkansas has gotten into a trouble where, say, a guy that's averaging 4 or 5 points a game, 2-3 rebounds, he ought to suddenly scores 15, 20 points and gets 8 rebounds. You got to eliminate the people that are stepping up way beyond their average. That's where you have 3 guys, Nick Boyd, 20 points and 143 assists. Looking at 3-pointers. John Blackwell, the another one you have to watch out for, 19 points a game, and he shot 242 threes. So if we can eliminate one of those, that we stand a very good chance at advancing. So, it's one of them deals where you look at the game against Hawaii, they have big, so that's going to teach you stay out of foul trouble. You cannot let a team like, how it is in March Madness. You can't let a team like, I seen that and I know exactly who that is, and I will talk to you about that tomorrow morning. So don't think I ain't looking at you, Greg. But you can't let a team like Hawaii hang around. We've seen magic happen with these lower seeds, and the 4 seeds a prime spot for an upset. So you can't let Hawaii hang around. You got to put your foot on their throat. You've got to take care of business, because it's all about rest too. You don't have the depth to get in foul trouble, and you have a game if they don't get upset. Wisconsin coming up on Saturday. If you beat Hawaii, it's going to be a tough test, but I really love the fact that Arkansas seems locked in, ready to go. And you know what? They won the SEC tournament and they had a good run. They didn't have to get beat up in the SEC tournament to win it all. I was concerned when they went to overtime against Ole Miss how that was going to affect things. But for them to come out on top against Vanderbilt, I really like this team.
Another matchup, first round, and this is just for throwing it out there, kind of Arkansas related, kind of not. But I'm going with USF, South Florida, to knock off Louisville in the 11 versus 6. Mm-hmm. You just might wonder, how's that Arkansas related? Because they have Joseph Pinion on their squad. There's just a feeling that I have about this game, and I could be completely off base. But overall, 6 seeds have won 61% of meetings with 11 seeds. The last time that the number 6 seed won all 4 meetings over the 11 seed was 2004. And so this is one that I'm going with. This is kind of like the 5-12 matchups. You never know. There's usually an upset. I'm going with USF in this one. And I think that Joseph Pinion's going to have himself a game.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I got another person chiming in. So I wanted to stay not distracted on these people, because it's nice for them to jump in. I'll talk to them about it tomorrow. But another thing is too with this is going to the Final Four. That with all the attention comes if they don't make it to the Sweet 16. What's going to be the letdown? What's going to be the crash out? What's going to be the aftermath if this team does not? Now there's expectations. There's that national attention that's on Arkansas now. Beforehand it wasn't. They were the sleeper. They were the dark horse. Everybody was, missing on Darius Acuff. They were missing on Cal in Arkansas. Now everybody's talking about it. How are they going to handle that? Because it's something that they haven't had to deal with, really. I mean, you hear it here and there about Darius Acuff, but there's a lot of people talking about Arkansas going to the Final Four. There's a lot of people about Arkansas, making it. So how are they going to handle that pressure coming into this tournament?
I think it's going to be one of those things that with them, they're not buying into it. They're not sitting here worrying about what everybody's saying about them or what the national media is saying about them. These guys know who they are. This team knows who they are. These guys know what it's like and the expectations that there are to play for John Calipari. I don't think any of the outside noise or the outside media talk, there's not bulletin board material to these guys. Every game is just business as usual. I feel like there's not necessarily a chip on their, and maybe sometimes there is. We just don't see it because you have a guy like Darius Acuff Jr. We've seen his demeanor on the court. I mean, nothing phases him. Yeah, he might, the prime example, when he got hit on that three against Vanderbilt, he's coming to the refs like, what was that or whatever. But he's not worried about the outside noise. He's worried about his teammates showing up. He's worried about patting them on the back. He's not worried about his game because he knows what he's going to go out there and do. These guys do not care what the outside world says about them. All they care about is that final score when the buzzer sounds. That's all that matters to them. But, as Transplant in Texas said, very cliche, but every game has to be played like it's their last. Yeah. It's do or die time. There is no second chance. It's win or go home. And, one thing that it's in the back of my mind, and I brought it up last night, Arkansas is now currently on their longest win streak of the season at 5 games. And so it sits in the back of my head, just because we've been on the 3 game, we've been on the 4 game early on in the season. But now I'm like, okay, we finally hit that win streak past 4 games that we've been talking about all season. So what's going to happen?
Hopefully it's reset. Like you reset, because again, we're talking about, it's crazy. So, what scares me, and this is what should scare people about Darius Acuff. Usually, how tense he's been, how serious he's been, and he's locked in and he's playing well. He is playing looser. Mm-hmm. He's got more of a smile on his face. He is making these acrobatic shots. He's playing better. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. You give a guy, you'll see some of these guys go on a heater and then they get overconfident, they get cocky, and they start dipping or they have an off game. He is getting better. And I think he's saving the best for last in this run in the NCAA tournament. I think you've been meaning to say it all year. You're waiting for that 40-point game. You're waiting for this big blow-up game, and he hasn't had that 40-point game yet. Been close, but I think we haven't seen the best of him yet. And that's what should scare other teams, because I think he's saving that last quarter tank he's got. He's saving it for the NCAA tournament. And I think, he's going to have a 35-point game. I'm not going to say he's going to have a 40-point game, but he's going to have a game where he just completely goes off. Everything he just shoot. I just have a feeling whether it's going to be in a game where they need it, like say, let's go Arizona game to go to the Final Four. But the fact that you have that game where he just goes off.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had the 49 against Bama.
I meant 50. 50. Yes.
Well, we thought that game he was going to hit 50.
Yeah.
But I will say that when you look at March Madness, and we can talk 45, we can talk 49, we can talk 50. It would be bigger to do 35, 40, 45 in an NCAA tournament game than a regular season double overtime game at Alabama. So the game's out there. This is his time to shine. Mm-hmm. This is the final button on his resume before the NBA draft. I know there's some that still have him now at the top 3. I still think it's one of those, whatever team needs a point guard, they're going to either trade up because they think he's going to be gone, or I still am putting him in the top 5, just depending on how the draft lottery falls.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I think that he is top 5, potentially higher. And the only reason I'm saying top 5 is just, like I said, how the NBA draft lottery pans out.
Well, and then you got to look at his counterpart and Malik Thomas. What are we going to get out of him? We've talked about, does he come back? Does he go pro? What if he's going to use this for a push to raise his stock? What if he's using this as a push to solidify that, hey, I'm going to the league? And you get both of those guys on fire on top of, you get a big performance out of Brazil. DJ Wagner comes out and gets you a couple of threes. You get to where the point of it's sad to say, but your weakest link is Pringle. If you get to the point where you can outscore teams and you don't have to worry about that, I feel good about the team. But that has to be in the back of your mind. But then you've also seen too, you look at Gonzaga, all the times they've had those scores that are scoring 25, 30 points a game. Adam Morrison falls short. We still need somebody to step up. And I think Malik Thomas is going to be one of them people. He's going to finally come out of his shell. He's going to step up. And again, I think with this team that in the tournament, as much as people is talking about them, I think all of it's valid because this is going to be one of the scariest teams in the tournament if they cannot let the inside presence beat them.
Sitting here looking at just the matchup that we look at all the time. I am shocked, and this is just people picking upsets. I'm going to assume a lot of these are probably Kentucky and Vanderbilt fans. 405,000 brackets picked Hawaii. Kind of surprised by that. They're just looking for they have about 4.8 million so far. Have picked almost 4.9 million. Have picked Arkansas. Now I'm just looking kind of some of the head-to-head comparisons. I think Hawaii, they're averaging almost 80 points per game. Yeah, they're a defensive team. They're holding opponents to 70 points, but they're 0-0 against the top 25. So their BBI ranking is 122, 14-6 in conference. I think that this game may start off kind of close because we've seen Arkansas with some of the slower starts. But I think Arkansas comes into their own and wins by double digits in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of it too, it's 325, so what, 125 their time. It's not that 11 o'clock game. It's not that first opening game round there. So they're going to have time to get ready. They're going to have to, and it could be later because I guarantee it, if that first game goes late, then I think it's 25, 30 minutes past that. So it could be a little bit later, like the same situation in the SEC tournament. But when you look at the next round, in Wisconsin, and then if you go further than that, the further this team goes, the more momentum they're going to have, but the tougher the teams are going to get, unless somebody pulls off an upset. You worry about the team, the fact of you have this guy in Darius Acuff and how hard it is to replace him, and you're like, all right, if we don't get to the Final Four with him, I know you got studs coming in, but yet it's going to be hard. No, man, it's almost like you didn't win the national championship with Kevin Kopps. You didn't win a national championship with Darren McFadden. You've got to put Darius Acuff in that tier of, players. And if you don't win it with him, it's going to put a little damper on when is it going to be? Is the curse still there? But like I've said, Final Four, I would be happy. I'll be elated with the Final Four run.
We always talk about how is Arkansas going to adapt to other teams. I think this is a situation in the NCAA tournament. It's not how are we going to adapt to other teams. It's how are they going to adapt to us. If they take out Darius Acuff or lock him down in some capacity, can they stop Malik Thomas also? Can they stop Billy Richmond also? Can they stop Trevor Brazile also? So I think that now you're in the mindset in the NCAA tournament. It's make the other team adapt to you. Stop worrying about what the other team brings to the table. Just play your game.
And Acuff's got to, he's got to keep doing his thing, limiting turnovers. You can't have this is the worst time to have an off game or out of character game. You got to limit your foul trouble. This is another thing we haven't really talked about too. That's one of the flaws about Billy Richmond. He loves to try to lean in. He loves to try to swipe. He loves to try to do that extra contact. And I think in this setting, you got to keep your hands up. Because if you start swiping, I think the other day he picked up 2 fouls, like quick. You can't do this in this setting. Like you got to stay disciplined because if you get into foul trouble, especially when we're expecting you to score 12, 15 points a game, have a 20-point game, you're going to be one of those guys that's needed. And you can't be careless because that can be the difference between you moving on to the next round or we're welcoming in the next class.
My last little tidbit will be, hey, referees, if you're listening, that means you need to be calling Cam Boozer's hooks and hanging out in the paint, because this is the time that I know we're not going to get it, but we should have the best officiating possible, which means keep Jim Lindsay and Doug Shows away from any Arkansas game, please.
Keep them away from Portland.
Yes.
Well, we're going to continue on the conversation after the break. We're going to talk about the breaking news out of Alabama, how that's going to affect their tourney run. We're going to look at the bracket and show some potential upsets, and we'll talk about baseball and another national championship in Fayetteville. We'll come back after the break. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials is sure to have everything you need, whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck. Plus, our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Look no further than ATU Ozark Campus. As a 2-year satellite campus of Arkansas Tech University, we're dedicated to a quality workforce education, industry partnerships for in-demand jobs, and tailored paths for success. Our programs are led by industry professionals. Whether it's a certificate or you're aiming for a graduate degree, ATU Ozark has you covered. Visit our website at www.atu.edu/Ozark or contact us at 479-667-2117. Your future begins here. Welcome to Ozark Area Chamber of Commerce, where our mission is simple: encourage, promote, and aid an enduring environment of shared economic opportunity and civic development for the Ozark, Arkansas area. Whether you're a local business owner or a resident, we've got something for you. Shop our unique local businesses, explore the beauty of Ozark, and savor local flavors and find cozy accommodations. Join us in building a stronger community. And to learn more, contact us at 479-667-2525. Remember, together we thrive. And welcome back to the Hog Talk podcast. And Adam, it seems like Alabama has once again found themselves in a heap of trouble. And I'm honestly shocked that the announcement came before we went live that the young gentleman is no longer on the team. He will not be going with Alabama to their first game against Hofstra. Second leading scorer was found with a significant amount of substances. We'll leave it at that. But, everybody can joke and say, oh, I guess I bet he'll play. But I was really surprised how quick they decided to release him, per se.
Part of me still says never say never when it comes to Nate Oates. So it sucks for them. I think that Alabama could have some struggles now. I think that, they could honestly be looking at Hofstra being an issue for him. I know he's only the second leading scorer, but that's a dynamic that is taken away from their team. So we'll see what happens with it. I can't say it's an unfortunate situation because it's one of those things that you did something illegal. So I'm just kind of surprised that Nate Oates, finally decided that, hey, I guess now I've got to actually discipline a player rather than, well, it's just, whatever. So we'll see what happens to him.
Well, and the thing is, this is from Pete Thamel. He had been removed from campus in the wake of his arrest. The school announced and is not going to be with the team as the UA Office of Student Conduct investigates his case. So this could have been way above Nate Oates. They could have been like, look, we're not letting you decide this one. We don't need the negative attention. And I'm sorry. I know there's been circumstances, there's been a lot, but there's been so much trouble surrounding this guy. And it's like it has a program that it's almost like the Georgia football program. But yet they keep not. When are the people going to start pointing the finger at Nate Oates and be like, Lou, what's going on with your program? What is going on? And you see the other situations that's happened and they get away with it. Then you go pull the stunt with Bediako, which it was nothing illegal. It was nothing on it, but it still brought negative light to your program. And now it's finally catching up to the point to where the guy got caught with a pound of weed and they're like, we can't even begin to justify that or back that up. And I think they went over the fact that we're not even going to let Nate Oates have a chance to, because right now, I don't know if they're playing Thursday or Friday or either or, but the fact that they need to be focused on that and him having to answer all these questions, or that I think that has a lot to do with why they went ahead and done what they did, because they knew it was going to eventually happen. So kudos if they're doing it for the right reasons. But how many more times is this going to happen to this program?
They play Friday at 2:15. But this comment here is kind of what was my thinking too, was did they, hey, let's try to make Nate Oates finally look like a disciplinarian because he can't travel outside of the state with felony charge. So we're just going to kick him off the team just so that we can save face. My thing, and this could, I could be reaching here. I've talked about this standpoint on some of things and on previous shows, but something in a matter like this, and it's kind of like a lot of things in life. Like if you want to do something, you're going to do it no matter what the laws are. And so in this matter, I feel like he was going to get his hands on the marijuana, whether or not, whatever the case may be. I look at things like NIL though, and revenue sharing, giving these players the amounts of money that they're being given. I'm shocked that more things like this aren't happening, just because players do have more access with more money. And so I feel like that this is just he was just the first caught. Obviously, things like this have been going on, but I think that this is something that we're going to see more and more of as NIL and ref share keep happening.
Yeah. It just, and it sucks for the rest of the guys. Alabama, is a good program, and they just, again, can't seem to get out of their own way when it comes to these charges or allegations or trouble with their program and, guns and drugs and all that stuff. And it's like you said, you keep giving these kids money and money that they're not used to having. You're going to have instances like this. You're going to have people go out and, it's, there was also, not paying the tax stamp. So I don't understand. I'm not versed on that part of it. I see people keeping on talking about this tax stamp thing, but I don't know what that relates to. I'm again, I've been reading headlines, but I'm not too far. And then it's crazy when you see stuff like that, you automatically got to fact check it and make sure it's even real. And then you going on there and trying to make sure you have all the correct information about it, especially when it comes to something like this. But you want to troll, you want to poke fun at Alabama and Nate Oates, but in the end, it's like when it's this serious, you're like, dude, sometimes you really got to take a step back and be like, maybe it's time to step away. If you cannot control your team and things like this keep on happening, and then you're going out of your way to get yourself in other situations, and I'll bring the Bediako situation into it because, you say when Baylor does it, you're sitting there totally against it, but when it happens to your team, you're like, how can I tell that to my kid that, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're not setting a good example. And it starts at the top. And that's what the thing is we got to look at. If we want stuff like this to stop, we have to be setting examples. And if this is the thing that you're seeing other people get away with stuff, well, I play for Alabama. I'm going to get away with this. You go back to varsity blues stuff. Hey, man, my kid's too much for you. They too much trouble, the slap on the wrist. And now you get yourself in a situation that let's see how far we can push the envelope. Let's see how much we can get away with. And now you find yourself a few days away from the first round in the NCAA tournament. And now you've just destroyed probably what any kind of hopes of winning a national championship, flush that down the drain over some bad decisions.
So the tax stamp thing, I just looked up right quick. And this is from TuscaloosaNews.com. And this is directly with a story that was put out today.
Okay.
So he was arrested for first-degree possession of marijuana and failure to affix a tax stamp. The latter of the two charges that the 21-year-old received is the lesser known. Here's an explanation of the seldom used law. In 2016, Tuscaloosa drug agents began charging suspected drug dealers for breaking a law that requires them to purchase tax stamps. The law passed in 1988 requires individuals who sell drugs to pay a tax and affix a stamp to the product. If convicted, authorities can collect fines from the dealers who are unlikely to have complied with the little-known law. The stamps, which read "Say No to Drugs" and "Say No to Marijuana," are administered by the Alabama Department of Revenue. Should a person possess more than 42.5 grams of marijuana, the Alabama marijuana tax stamps law imposes a $3.50 a gram tax. If dealers convicted are selling drugs without a stamp, any fines that they are required to pay go into the state's general fund. When purchasing, Revenue Department employees don't ask buyers for a reason, nor can the public employees reveal facts contained in an application. It's basically, this is weird to me because it's like you're basically wanting the drug dealers to come in and say, hey, I need a stamp for the drugs that I'm going to sell.
Yeah, that. I mean, I don't. I'm trying not to laugh at it, but it's just so bizarre. It's almost like that episode of Cops where the girl calls in the cops because the lady stole her $20 that she was going to buy drugs with. Like she was going to purchase drugs with this, and then she's like, "Well, she stole my money," and they go ask, "Was this lady trying to buy drugs from you?" And of course, the lady's like, "I don't know what she's talking about." Then they ended up arresting the girl who was sitting there saying up front that I'm trying to buy drugs with this $20. Yeah. So if you go buy stamps, then it gives you the right to sell drugs in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy. That's wild. Well, we'll see how this affects the team. I'm anxious to hear what Nate Oates will say about this. If he is going, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be allowed to. They might just be like, look, he's already off the team, focuses on the NCAA tournament, but that he's going to be approached by this. So we'll see what happens, whatever the NCAA tournament. And then you never know. They might win. And then they do their investigation like, well, we didn't find any. So this is not over with. This is just now. So it could be a situation where you're looking at, hey, they beat Hofstra, and looking at who their second round matchup would be, Texas Tech, Akron. guys, you never know. With craziness here, we're sitting here talking about good for them for finally dropping the hammer or looking like Oates is disciplinarian. What happens if they beat Texas Tech and they're like, oh, upon investigation, he did nothing wrong. And now he's back on the team.
It's bound to happen that way. I just feel like, so we'll see what happens.
Well, moving on, Arkansas, yet again, track and field, another national championship. Arkansas won the indoor championship, their 22nd indoor national championship, scoring 73.5 points. And it was at Randall Tyson Track Center. The 43rd overall national championship for the Razorback men, and it's their 52nd team title for the Arkansas program. So death, taxes, and tax stamps, and Arkansas winning another track championship.
And just another one. I mean, when I saw it, you applaud them, then you're just like, yep. It's just another day in the office for the Arkansas track team.
It's funny how you look at Arkansas athletic program, and it's a shame, but it is what it is in sports that not a lot more people talk about this track. Yeah, they call them a track school, but you imagine if this was any other sport, like if this was the big three, not saying 43 national championships, but what if you were an Alabama or UCLA or say Kentucky? You know, you have 10. What would Arkansas be like as a fan base and a program if you had 5+ national championships in one of the big three sports?
Oh, we would be insufferable for other fan bases to deal with, and I'd be all here for it. Not a doubt in my mind.
Which sport? Which sport would you want? Would it mean more if it was football? Would that be, because we're in the South, or would it mean the same if you had 5 basketball national championships?
I mean, obviously football is king, especially in the SEC. But to me personally, like, I would love it if it was basketball.
Yeah, I think so too. And hopefully they're winning their second one this year. But it's just the fact that, again, 52 total. And again, with track, you have cross country, you have indoor and outdoor championships, and then you have men's and women's. And so you have really a time where you could get 6 national championships in 1 year at the max when it comes to your track and field program. But still, yet 52 for the program as a whole between men's and women's, indoor, outdoor, and cross country. So again, big kudos to them. And that's the fact you're getting rid of your legends and you're having new coaches come in and they're just carrying on the tradition. Another national championship for the track and field program. So,
and another for Hunter Yurachek to claim as his own.
And why'd you have to? Hey, where's that raffle at, by the way? Are they doing a raffle during the national? Are they doing that?
No, there's not one live right now. But glad let's just share. I could just say the number, but it's funner whenever I put it up on screen.
I want to see it on the screen.
Had to stay.
It
closed out at 11-3 on the jackpot, and 56-60 went to the winner on opening weekend in the SEC.
And that was compared to what was the very first one?
Like a couple 100,000. Let me look back at the past. It's on here. See all winners. The very first one was $282,000. And yeah, that was baseball against Tennessee.
So even the second one, 90. And when I look at it, I automatically just look at that second number. I want to see, all right, what was the prize? So you started out 90,000 or 140, 90, 90, and then it dropped off.
Then the 35
after that.
Then they did this, then 75,
okay.
But then it was 15, 31, 26, 24, 24,000, 5,900, 11,000, 91. Yeah, so you've had this significant. You haven't had it over 10,000 on the prize since the Tennessee basketball game.
Man, I'll tell you what, though, Arkansas wins the national championship. You never know that they might be. But then again, it's if half of that money was going to NIL instead of a Razorback Foundation, which we know nothing about, we hadn't heard anything. Link U, wasn't there supposed to be a big announcement during that?
And then they came out and said that they're going to wait to let us know. Convenient.
Interesting. So we still know nothing about what this all is about.
Correct.
Okay. So, yeah. Well, hey, we're getting a statue, so things are baby steps with that. So, moving on to baseball, big series win for Arkansas over third-ranked Mississippi State, winning 5-4 on Friday, and then losing the first game of the doubleheader 7-2, and then closing the series out 7-3. That was a big statement. I mean, I know last week we were worried about this team. You go up and down and you just don't know what you're getting out of your starting pitching. You don't know what you're going to get out of your hitting. So being able to have Mississippi State come to Fayetteville and you averaged 14-19 total over 3 games, so 6 runs a game, give or take. That's really good against the number 3 team in the country. Yes, it was at home, but great start to the SEC play. You have Northern Colorado tomorrow and Wednesday, and then you go to Columbia, South Carolina on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which all 3 games will be FCC Network Plus. We'll talk more about that on Thursday. First pitch at 6 on Friday, 3 p.m. on Saturday, and then 12:30 on Sunday. But if you want to go to the games tomorrow and Wednesday, 6 p.m. tomorrow, the first 1,000 fans will get a green snapback St. Patrick's Day hat. And then, of course, the Wednesday game will be at 3 o'clock against Northern Colorado on that. So, yeah, very good showing for Arkansas this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I had my doubts after, especially after the Stetson series, that they turned things around. I know it was at home, but see what they can do on the road. And, hey, anybody going to the game, you want to hook me up with one of those green hats?
There you go.
We can work something out.
And let me look and see where South Carolina is baseball. They are currently 12-9 overall, 0-3. So they got swept their opening weekend against. They played Florida, so they lost 1-0 in 10 innings, and then they lost 3. So should be a winnable series. It was at Florida, but you scored a total of 3 runs in that series against Florida in 7 innings. I guess they applied the run rule 13-3 on Sunday against Florida. So you got blanked in your first 2 games, and then game 3 you scored 3 runs, but you got blasted 13-3 in that. So you get past that. Well, it's what we were talking about last week. You get past that first opening, and we're like, okay, this is going to be a statement. We're worried, but let's see what happens. You get the win, and now you have where you're going to be playing against South Carolina, and then after South Carolina, you go to you have Florida in Fayetteville. So this could end up being where you're proving us wrong. I mean, again, we don't pay attention to the baseball like we should. We go off of box scores and what we're seeing out of the program, but we're basing it off of how we judge all the other programs, and more so baseball, because they are a standard. They are an elite program. So when we see that they're struggling against, Stetson, it's going to raise some eyebrows. So we'll get that. Moving on to softball, they dropped their series against Alabama. They lost game 1, 4-1. They won Saturday 14-9, and then lost 4-1 again on Sunday against Alabama. They dropped to 23-4 overall, 3-3 in conference play. It's weird again when you talk about baseball, softball. It's more so, yes, conference records matter when it comes to seeding and stuff, but it's all about getting those series wins, winning the series. whether it's a sweep or winning 2 out of 3. So sometimes those conference records will get altered a little bit by you win a series, but yet you could still be game over 500 in SEC play. But they have to bounce back against they play UConn at Bogle Park. So they have a weekend off of SEC play before they welcome Florida on March 27th, 28th, and 29th. So they have UCA tomorrow at Bogle Park, and then they welcome in UConn Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All games again, SEC Network Plus for that.
It's one of those that, hey, basketball season's coming to an end and SEC baseball is here. So, yes, my focus will shift a little bit, but let's get basketball out of the way before that happens.
And it always means more, too, when you know that Arkansas has the chance to have a deep run. And, Adam, it's almost like you wait till after football season to really start focusing on basketball. And then a lot of people, they don't even start talking about college basketball till March Madness. And then you go to baseball, and then a lot of schools, if you want to go outside the SEC, they don't really even care about college baseball till the College World Series. So it just shows you the tiers of college football is more national. And then you go to basketball, it is national, but not as much as college football. And then baseball is regional.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it shows by the coverage, the lack of games you see on TV other than the SEC Network.
Yeah.
You got anything else before we wrap it up?
I am good.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Hog Talk podcast. Again, thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to all our fans and our sponsors. We will be back Thursday at 6:05 p.m. Hopefully talking about a Razorback win over Hawaii. We'll have a breakdown of the game. Who are they going to be playing next and everything with going on with March Madness. For Adam Hall, I'm Porter Hayes, and we will catch you on Thursday.